Welcome to the IOL Sports Show. This is Zaahier Adams back with Temba Bavuma this week, the Proteas one-day skipper. He's the man in charge. He's the man that's going to lead the Proteas to the World Cup. That's what the nation expects, and we have him right here with us tonight. Good evening, Temba.
Good evening, Zaahier. Good to see you again.
Yeah, fantastic to have you with us. It's been a while, these bubbles, and it's kind of distance ourselves from the cricketers and from the game. How's it all been teaching you? How's it been to spend all these times in the bubble? We've just seen the IPL cancelled because of COVID-19, or at least postponed. What's life like in these bubbles?
Yeah, I think that's a nice thing. Not having any cricket at the moment is not having to spend your life in the bubble. Look, it can be mentally taxing, to be honest, where you're not really able to do what you normally are able to do in and around games. But I guess the more you experience them, the better you are able to adjust around them. I think it's obviously something that we're gonna have to get used to and contend with as players in the near future at least. But yeah, bubble life has its challenges.
You're not one of the tallest sportsmen around. Has it ever affected you? Has it made an impact on you? Have you ever needed to prove people wrong that I can actually play this game regardless of my size?
Yeah, so I think it's more something really that I had to deal with when I was younger, playing with guys who were bigger than me, playing with guys who were stronger than me. Sometimes you couldn't compete with them from a physicality point of view, but I think from a mindset point of view, there was no excuse from that point. And I guess for me, it was more about drawing from that to compensate, if I could say, for the lack of physicality. Fortunately, I don't play contact. Fortunately, I don't play a contact sport, so I don't have to really be taking guys down.
They do say small people do try and compensate in different other ways. So maybe that's where the guts and the cannons come from. Do you think that upbringing, that a lot of people might look at it as in, geez, Temba, he grew up hard, it was difficult, life was hard. But do you actually see it as a blessing in disguise in terms of the community spirit, in terms of the fact that you could actually play cricket in the street every single day, like most children actually can't today?
Yeah, I think all of us in our journeys, we've had to overcome certain challenges, hurdles, obstacles. Some people it'll be social, political things. Other people it'll be like family issues. And I think for me, having was born and grew up in Langa. I think being in that environment while I was still young, I guess it was challenging, but I think it also provided like the opportunity for me to just play and relish in my passion of cricket. We played street cricket every day, and like you said, the conditions, if I could say, were rather different. We played on like the street you mentioned. There were cracks in the street. They tried to tar it up, but they didn't do a good job. There were potholes. So the guys growing up, the older guys, they termed it Karachi. We also had another part of the street that was a lot that was done quite well, and it had a bit of a scene to it, the way it was set up, and the guys used to call that the Lords. So I think growing up, all those all those scenes, all those memories kind of stuck in my head. And I guess as a young guy, you always dreamt to actually play at the real Karachi, to play at the real Lords. And fortunately enough, I've been able to have that opportunity. So I think, yeah, the environment that you grow up in, they are its pros, and obviously they are its cons. But I think it's finding a way to kind of navigating through it all.
Temba, I know you faced the quickest bowlers in the world, but I'm going to throw you a bumper straight up here. You grew up in Langa, you went to SACT as a youngster, and then you moved up to to Joburg, went to St. David's. You played for the Lions and the Cobras. Are you a Cape Townian or a Joburger?
Look, I love Cape Town. I'm not gonna lie about that. Anyone who knows me, knows whenever I get the chance, I always try to go to Cape Town. I love Cape Town. Personally, looking at my personality, I consider myself a Cape Townian, but I can't hide away from the fact that I've spent a lot of my life in Joburg.
We'll take it down here. That's the politically correct answer that you're a Cape Townian. We'll take it down here. But just in terms of like you said, you had this this very colorful and charismatic childhood where you got to play in the streets and and with all these bigger guys and that type of thing. But during the day, as you went to school, you had sex, and that was up in the leafy suburbs of the southern suburbs of Cape Town. I mean, the contrast couldn't be more different. How did you adapt initially and get and basically find yourself in that environment?
Yeah, I think that's the beauty. When I think about it, the beauty of my journey, of my development. That I was born and grew up in a suburb like Langa, and then I was kind of taken out of that system, and I had the opportunity to grow up in the system that a Sex would give you, a system that a St. David's would give you, and I guess that allowed me to be a lot more of an all-rounded individual, and gave me the perspective to understand kind of both sides of both perspective, if I could say. Sorry, at the beginning, it had its challenges, obviously. But I think what made it a bit easier for me is that I was always quite decent on the sporting field, so I never struggled to make friends with guys within the classes. And I knew I was there because of my cricket ability or my sporting ability. And I guess that obsession there with being on the field, that allowed me to kind of overcome all the challenges that I had to deal with being a young guy.
I'm not 100% sure if many people know that you actually have a BCom degree, and I mean, to be a professional cricketer in this day and age, to have a BCom degree, how important was education in the Bavuma household? I've seen your mother, she's got a degree, your sister's now just graduated UCT. How important was education in the Bavuma household?
Yeah, it was super important. I think to be honest, from my dad, he wasn't all about this whole cricket thing. And I guess that's how they kind of grew up, you go to school, after going to school, you go to varsity, get your degree, and then, you can start making a living for yourself. And there comes Temba with these offside dreams, wanting to play cricket for South Africa and all of that. I mean, I guess that was also part of my motivation in a way as well, to try to prove to my old man that, this is something that, I can really become good at. It was obviously, as a young kid, it was never about the money. But fortunately, where I've gotten to the level that I've gotten to, money has been a byproduct of I guess, of my obsession with cricket. And I'm fortunate to be where I am. In terms of education, like I said, is a big thing. My siblings as well, they are educated. My mother is educated. And I guess for me, having the balance between the two is important.
So with that degree that hangs up there on the wall, does that set you up to be the next CEO of Cricket South Africa when time is right?
Look, at the moment, it's just gathering dust at the moment on the wall. I don't know. I enjoy things that have to do with business. I've got a little business savvy to myself, and I guess one will always find his way back into the game of cricket, even if you stop as a player. So, I mean, if that opportunity comes, why not? But I don't think that's something that's really realistic at this point.
We know you've got enough on your plate at the moment. Captaining South Africa, that's not an easy task. But just listening to you and the way you've spoken about your upbringing and having lived in both worlds, whether it was in Langa, whether it was at Saxons and Davids, and also having the benefit of education, you could basically, as all these things basically prepared you to be captain of the Proteas, which is a unique job in its own right.
I think I just find myself, for me, personally, I find myself being in a position to be able to relate to your black brother. I find myself in a position to still also be able to relate to our white brothers as well. Kind of be able to put the emotion aside and put yourself in each person's shoes, and and really empathize with them. I think sport, as much as we love sport, there's a lot of things within sport that can be hard to get your mind around as a player. And I think it needs a certain type of perspective, to really get to understand a lot better. But yeah, I think you make your question is a good one. Did my upbringing prepare me for where I am now? I don't know, but I think, I can draw a lot on my experiences, and I can only take the good from it and use it going forward.
Remember, you speak about the having the empathy for your black brothers, having empathy for the white brothers. How important was that, particularly over the last 18 months? Particularly during that lockdown period when we saw basically South African cricket engulfed by the Black Lives Matter movement. How important was it to basically listen to both sides and understand where both sides were coming from? Because as you say, these are, highly emotional matters. It's matters that, that pull at the heartstrings of whichever side you're sitting on the fence. So how important was it there to be that bridge and to have that empathy during that critical period?
Yeah, it was highly emotional. Like you said, these are sensitive matters for one to be involved in, and I think you gotta commend the guys who are brave enough, to come out and share, bits and pieces or accounts of their experiences. Guys being on the receiving end of discrimination or unsavory moments within their careers. And I think, the fact that certain guys went through those experiences and they were able to still succeed, they were still able to come to the top. It inspires you as a current player who's still trying to pursue your ambitions. And I think even the guys who are on the other end, guys who are accused, of doing all those things, you kind of, in a way, you kind of feel for them. Um, you kind of feel for them in a way, because I guess at that point in time, their awareness, their understanding, that's what they knew, that's what they felt was right. Um, and I think it's important that, at least for me, at least, that you try and look at those things in an unemotional way, because I think it's more about understanding, it's more about getting a better understanding of each other. Um, I think no one can sit there, listen to their stories, and try validate them or invalidate them. I think for us, it's more about to listen, um, to hear each other out, and most importantly, try find a better solution forward.
Did you at any point in your career suffer any abuse in that regard?
I guess, we all go through challenges. I heard guys speak about selection and all of those things. I think we've all had situations where, we felt that we should have been selected and we weren't selected, and the reasons that were given, just didn't add up. Um, I think every player, of all races really can give can I think can give examples of that. Downright discrimination, racial abuse. In my time with the Proteas, I've never contended with anything like that. So I guess I'm quite fortunate from that point of view. I mean, I listened to a guy like Tommy speak about the experiences that he went through as an under 13, being left to sleep on the floor and all of that. You know, I mean, that's heartbreaking, and that's a guy that, he grew up. I grew up under him. We saw him as a hero. People from Langa. The fact that he was playing for South Africa, he was representing Western Province, he was captaining Western Province, and we didn't know that that guy, was going through those type of experiences. And like I said, man, it's just things that you can draw strength from, and you can use, as motivators, as positive energy in things that you do.
I I always remember the fact that growing up exactly like you. So Tom he's my age, and we grew up in similar cricket circles, and we played in similar teams, and there was never ever any doubt about his ability. Tommy was always the best wicket keeper in Cape Town. He was easily amongst the highest run scorers, and he captained the teams from under 13 basically through to Coke Week. And I remember you also saying something similar, as in you only saw yourself as a cricketer. It was only when other people mentioned the fact that, oh, he's the first Black African to do this, he's the first Black African to do that, that it kind of started, resonating with you. When that happens, how much does that change the mindset of how you approach things? Because throughout, I presume, exactly with you, your youth career, you were amongst the best batters, whichever team you played in. So it was never a question. How much did that change your mindset once those things became applicable?
I'd be lying, Zaahier, if I said that it didn't change my mindset. It definitely changed the way that I saw myself. It definitely changed the way that I saw cricket in our country, and I guess maybe I was oblivious to a lot of things. Maybe growing up at St. David's, where, like you say, I was one of the top players in the team, top players in my provincial side. My performances selected myself. I was kind of maybe in that cocoon where I was protected from all of those things. Um, Even when I joined the Lions, I joined the Lions as one of the young um, golden boys, the golden boy that the guys used to call me when I was quite young. And even there, you were kind of protected, and you were told how good you are, how talented you are. It was only a matter of time that you play for South Africa. The performances are also there, and it was only until you played for South Africa where it was only when you started playing for South Africa where a lot of question marks were put forward. It wasn't all about just your ability anymore. It wasn't all about what you'd done at franchise level to get to that point. It was all about this color thing, and he's the first guy to do this, or he's only playing there because we need a Black African cricketer. And as much as, and I mean, then I was quite young. I was only 23, 24. I was quite young, and I don't think I was really equipped, mentally to deal with all of that, to be able to put aside all of that and focus on the main thing. And I think the main thing kind of stopped being the main thing, and the main thing being cricket and trying to do as well as I can. I think I started probably taking on that responsibility or burden too much on my shoulders. Um, and like I said, man, the main thing didn't become the main thing anymore. And I guess, if I look at our system, and I mean, I grew up in a good system, but I question whether the system that I grew up equipped me mentally as a player, as a Black player, to really deal with those type of challenges. And I think it even makes it even more if you look at the successes of a guy like Makai and Dini. If you look at it, the success of a guy like an Ashwell Prince, of a Hashim Amla, how much more significant they actually are.
100%. I remember sitting in the Wonders, and it's one of I call it my light bulb moments. Of I sat at the Wonders, and you were making your comeback after being dropped for the England series, and you came back. It was the fourth test at the Wonders, and it was on your home ground, and it was the Saturday at the Wonders, and there was this group of supporters that basically chanted your name from the moment you walked down the tunnel onto the field all the way to the middle, and it was Temba, Temba, Temba throughout, and it basically what it made me realize was that whenever Temba Bavuma walks to the wicket, he's not just batting for himself, and he's not just batting for his 11 teammates. He's batting for 56 million people, and that's quite a hefty weight to carry for any man, And I remember your press conference after that, and what an emotional one it was. Did that mean anything to you when you came back, and all that support for you and people wanting you to do well?
Yeah, that was it's a challenging time in my career. I think no player likes being dropped for whatever reason it is, and I think in my case, it was a lot happening. There was a lot happening at that time. I mean, you're a media guru, so you'll know what I'm talking about. But there was a lot happening, and I think for me, yeah. So I think for me, it was important that I tried to keep my focus on my game, look at areas where I could improve, and then importantly put the performances on the table again. So I mean, when I spoke in the press conference, I knew the work that I'd put in. I mean, the result wasn't a surprise to me. So I guess a lot of emotion kind of came from that. But yeah, that was a tough, challenging time for me. And I guess I can only be satisfied that I came out on top of that situation.
So you are now the captain of the Proteas T20 side. You're the captain of the one-day side. You're at a World Cup, and there's a crunch semi-final coming up, and you got to go over to somebody and say, "Sorry, mate, you're not gonna get a crack tomorrow." How are you prepared for that situation?
Sure, it's not an easy decision. But if the decision has to be made, the decision has to be made. I think we're all professional enough to understand that. That's part and parcel of the game. No one is entitled to a spot in the starting 11. If a decision has to be made, it has to be made, unfortunately.
Do you feel the extra responsibility now as captain, and particularly there's a T20 World Cup at the end of the year? There's a 50 overs World Cup also on the horizon. Considering where the team is at, and you missed the Pakistan series now recently, but just everything around the Proteas, it's not going well. We can't hide away from the fact that the results are not what the Proteas are accustomed to. How much pressure is that to turn it around, and what does it need to get the Proteas on track again?
Yeah, I mean, you're right. I mean, we need the performances. We need the positive performances, as much as we keep saying that we're building something new. But that's not excuse for not winning. That's not excuse for not putting in, all-round performances. I think the performances that we've shown, I think we can all say that, it's not an ability thing. At least that's my opinion. I think mentally we've shown a lot of weakness in key moments, and those moments unfortunately have been the decider in our results. I think not looking too far, looking at the Pakistan series, looking at the T20s, the last game. I mean, fair enough, it was a inexperienced side, if you'd like to say, but I think there was a lot of positive that came out. There was a lot of talent that we put on display. But unfortunately, when the moments were there, we just couldn't bring it back home. So I mean, that's something mentally that we really, really, really need to nail down as a team. These are conversations, hard conversations that we need to keep having amongst the team. Um, and I guess if we knew what the problem, if we knew what the problem was or is, we would have solved it by now. So yeah, man. So I think from a skill point of view, I can't unfold it too much, but mentally, that's definitely something that we need to sort out.
After the Pakistan series, social media particularly, and we know how off social media can be at times. They really the bullseye was directed at Coach Mark Boucher. Do you feel that it's unfair and that he probably hasn't had the full complement of players to work with consistently, whether it's COVID, whether it's IPL, whether it's all these distractions, that he hasn't actually had a full squad to work with consistently over a period of time. And once that happens, the results will improve.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to make excuses for the coach, but I mean, looking at a time when he came in to coach the team, the team wasn't doing too well. So he was already on the back foot from that point of view. I mean, it was really going to be a challenging task. And then not to have your key players, your main players consistently available, that kind of doubled the the magnitude of the actual task as well. So I think not being able to field the team consistently, that hasn't helped his causes. Um, and I guess there's not much that he can do about that. That players are being released to go play in the IPL, or players or key players are getting injured at crucial times. In saying that, the coach, I know, from the bit that I've been working with him, he's a proud guy. He's not going to throw that at the forefront to say that's the excuse why the performance are the way that they are. But I think the onus, the responsibility is on all of us as players. I think as much as I mean, we haven't had that consistency, but I mean, if I look at least the test team, I mean, there's some guys there who've been playing for a fair bit at the moment. So the experience, if you put those guys together, is there. And I think as senior players within the team, we also need to kind of look at ourselves a lot more deeply, and see if we really um, taking the team forward. I think all teams go through that periods where you lose a couple of greats, or you lose a couple of players who've been doing very well, but you kind of always have the two or three players who are able to carry the team, and to such a point where the team becomes an experienced one. And I think that's where, and I'm speaking more of the test cricket, that's where we've kind of been failing ourselves in that regard.
Test cricket, that's where Temba Bavuma announced himself to the world. It was that 100 at Newland. How much do you feel since then you have progressed or stagnated? How do you feel about your test game?
My test game, I don't think my test game has gone backwards, to be honest with you. I think, look, I haven't fulfilled my potential, that I can undoubtedly say. Um, I think I've always prided myself as someone, who makes some significant contributions to the team when called upon, whenever in pressure situations. And I think, probably what's let me down is that whenever I've had the opportunity to really to really nail a team down, to really go big, that's where I failed myself. And I mean, that's something that I do think about. That's something that I am conscious about. When when I do get an opportunity, I try and make it count, but not forget, what I think makes me the person that I am. In that when there's moments that we need to fight, I I got full confidence in myself that I'll be able to come through for the team. So I think, looking at my career now, I think it's more a factor of, like I said, when the opportunity is there to really cash in, as the guys would say, I really need to find a way to do so.
How did you sleep that night after watching basically a whole nation here up, watching you get that 100? It's still the most viewed sports piece of sports content on SABC in South African history. It's more than World Cup wins, and it's so that's what it meant to the nation. How did you sleep that night, Temba?
For me, I was just caught up in the moment of just having scored my first 100 as an international batter. For me, that's where my mind was at. And I remember after that day, I went back home in Langa, and the family was there. My uncles were there, and for me, it was 100, and I'm not trying to downplay the whole thing. But when I was driving back there home, it was like, yo, I've scored 100, and when I got home, I've never seen, the type of joy and emotion that I saw from my family. And then, the following days, when people started speaking about it, the way they spoke about it, it kind of hit me that bit that, okay, maybe it's not just another 100, it's not just another feat. And yeah, look, it was a big thing. It was a big thing. It still is a big thing for a lot of people. And I think for me, that's where things changed in terms of how I saw myself playing a part within the sporting space of our country. To be honest with you, I would have liked that I kind of kept the same kind of perspective, the same type of mindset before that day in my cricket. I prefer the young oblivious Temba, who wasn't in the know in all of these things. But in saying that, I'm only grateful that I have this type of responsibility, and yes, it may have affected, other parts of my game in maybe not so positive ways, but not everyone has this responsibility. Not everyone has this kind of burden to carry.
Some would say it's a privilege to carry it, Temba.
Yeah, it is a privilege. It is a lot of pressure that I'm not gonna lie about. But yeah, I'm really grateful for it, man.
Is there a part of you that hopes that within that group of young boys or girls that they come about and they get to score 100 at Newlands or 100 at Lords and take 5 wickets and get their name on the honours board, that they don't have to walk around with the attachment of the first black African to do this, that they can actually just go out there and score 100 and take 5 wickets, and the fact that it happens so often, that they do it so often, and that there are many others that do it that often, that it just becomes a part of our conversation that player X took 5 wickets or player Y scored 100 and it contributed to a Proteas victory, and that's all it is.
Yeah, look, I enjoy the work that I do in my foundation. I think I'm just trying to give the support financially, resourcefully to talented individuals, the same resources that I was grateful enough, I was privileged enough to receive. Growing where I grew up, there were a lot of talented guys in my age group, guys who were much more talented than I was. but unfortunately weren't able to fulfill their potential. And I think the only reason why I was able to is because I had the right type of support. Um, and in essence, that's what we're trying to do with the foundation, is to give those talented guys the support, um, drill in their minds that education is important. And I mean, the more and more you get these individuals coming out being successful, the less and less that conversation will kind of come about that he's a batsman, but he's also a black African batter. Um, the less and less those conversations will start happening. And like you say, guys will start focusing a lot more on what the guys are doing on the field, how successful they are.
My understanding is that when you joined Roc Nation, the first thing you asked was when am I going to meet Jay-Z? Is that true?
No, that's not 100% true. I would like to meet him.
But
I think I was looking for a free trip to America. That's what I was looking for.
but just tell us about in terms of joining that type of that brand, and it's associated with Temba Bavuma. What does it mean for Temba Bavuma, the brand, in terms of the player, the person? We've seen what it's done with Sia. I know that you constantly compare to Sia, and in terms of the fact that you the next Proteas captain, and you are the Proteas captain. And I don't want to ask you, does it irritate you, the fact that people keep asking you that you're the next year? You can tell me if you want to, but just in regards, what does it mean to join that group?
Yeah, I mean, joining the Roc Nation family, I think that's a big thing. That's a big step in my career. Like you've said, I think this year, my life has changed. I mean, being given the reins of captain, the responsibility, the expectation. I mean, I think I just wanted to be in a space where I could really just focus on my cricket and let other competent people, being Roc Nation, focus on all the other stuff. Like I said, earlier on, I'd like cricket to be the main thing. Let the main thing be the main thing, and don't allow all the other, how could I say, all the other things that can potentially become distractions, get in the way of what I wanted to do. Roc Nation, they don't come without any introduction. Everyone knows what they're about. And I think the way they've come into our sport, in South Africa, they're here to change the game. And I think the services, that they offer to players is, in my opinion, and I'm not trying to put them on a pedestal. I don't think they are matched by any of the agents around. I'll probably get some flack for saying that. So I mean, the opportunity coming about for me, that's something that I could grab with my both hands.
We do know that they are very active within the communities. We had the pleasure of meeting the chairman, Mike, and and how passionate he is about making a difference in South African sport, not just on the field, but also have his clients and his family involved in a day-to-day basis of trying to improve everybody around them, whether it's their family, whether it's their friends, whether it's their community. That is very important to them. Is that just a natural fit? You don't need to be made to understand what that's all about. It's a natural fit.
Yeah, that was something as well that I considered joining them. And that kind of persuaded me to sign with the guys. They equally, if not more, passionate than me. In terms of their social work. I mean, the guy you spoke about, Michael. I mean, he's, as much as you get people that speak about how social social work is important, and how we need to uplift people around us, but he actually does it. He was telling me of a story of, there's a child here in South Africa. Michael's not even from South Africa, but there's a child in South Africa that he's funding out of his own pocket, their tuition fees and their whole lifestyle basically. So I mean, he's he's got skin in the game. He's not just saying it, just to make it sound nice. Those are things that I resonate. Those are things that are linked with, what I'm trying to achieve. And I really believe that they can help me, create the type of legacy and achieve the goals that I want to achieve on and off the field.
Temba, we're going to wrap up fairly soon, and we could possibly sit here for hours talking about what you want to do for South African cricket and how much it means to you. But if you had a empty canvas and you could write down your 3 wishes for South African cricket over the next 2 years that should come through, what would they be?
Win the 2021 World Cup, win the 2022 World Cup, win the 2023 World Cup.
Temba, it's been fantastic to have you on the show. We know that you're going to give it your best shot for the Proteas. You're going to try your best to steer the ship to calmer waters. And here at IOL Sport, we don't just respect you as a cricketer, but also as a human being for the way you try to change lives with the foundation and everything else that you've done long before the foundation was created. So from the IOL Sport team, we wish you all the best, and we hope to see you once. The one good thing about this thing I can tell you, there's only World Cup winners that come on the show, so and Olympic gold medalists. So
no pressure.
No pressure there. Thanks, Temba.
Thanks, Zaahier.